Here's a stat that should worry Liverpool fans. When teams sit deep and they force Liverpool to slow the game down, Liverpool have conceded more chances in that type of gameplay than in open play. And Fulham, they love that kind of game. Against Fulham, there's a lot of talk about Liverpool struggling to play against teams who play in a low block. Now, the problem here isn't Liverpool's back four at all, but it's really what happens before we get into a situation where the midfield loses the ball. Now, when Liverpool are pressing high and when they're defending high, they do exceptionally well. Liverpool's calm under pressure. They can control the game. They dictate what happens. They control the midfield. But the problem starts to come in when they stop doing that, when they're losing the ball, and especially those long aerial balls that we've seen oppositions play against Liverpool. It seems like a little bit of panic sets in over there, and all of a sudden, teams are stretching and exploiting the gap left between the midfield and also the defensive line. Another tactic that teams have been using against Liverpool is that horizontal stretching of the midfield, and once again exploiting space in between. Now, Liverpool need to address that, and they can when they could take control of the midfield. I mean, we saw this in the match against Leeds. We saw this, I think, earlier in the season against West Ham as well. When Liverpool actually control the midfield, they dictate how gameplay goes, and that is what they need to do in order to get the points. But what we've seen of late is they kind of control the game. They fail to dictate what needs to happen. They track back, and when they track the ball back, the whole midfield collapses on top of the defenders. And this is what allows opposition to put the pressure on Liverpool, and all of a sudden there's aerial balls coming in and there's no one to pick up the second ball in the midfield for Liverpool. Now, that stretching of the midfield also, what that forces to happen is that teams keep crossing in the ball, and our centre-backs are forced to make these aerial defensive runs and gameplay all the time. And like I've said, no one in the midfield to pick that up. And this is dangerous. And it seems to be Liverpool's go-to solution whenever they play against a team in a low block. Spread out horizontally and play back toward the defenders, and then the midfield runs on top of the defenders. When we've seen games where Liverpool haven't done that, where they've actually just gone and used their midfield dominance to control the game, it was a very, very different story. And all of a sudden we can defend higher, which makes us comfortable as Liverpool, and exploiting some of what we see, or some of the mistakes that the opposition makes. Now, against Leeds, Liverpool didn't do that. They didn't put the pressure on there. It was a very dull game. They didn't put the pressure on Leeds. And I think if they had done a little bit of that, it would have opened up Leeds instead of allowing Leeds to get bodies behind the ball. If we had put on the pressure on them, we would have forced them into mistakes. There were many opportunities where we could have done that, and we didn't. Now, going against Fulham, Fulham will completely exploit this weakness from Liverpool. They'll sit in a low block, and then they'll try and play over the heads of the midfield, and then and they'll try to do this wide to horizontally spread the midfield once again. And I think this is where we're going to see the midfield run onto the back of the defenders again, and it's going to make it very, very uncomfortable. Liverpool shouldn't allow that to happen. And if they play with discipline, especially through the midfield, Liverpool can go ahead and get a result in this match against Fulham. But let me know what your thoughts are. Do you think this is a tactical issue? Do you think it is just Liverpool having to rework how they play against a low block? And who do you think is going to pick up our set piece strategy? Will it be Alisson and perhaps the captain and vice captain? Who do you think is going to be in charge of that? Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments. I'm going to go ahead and finish this tea. You go ahead, smash that like button, hit that subscribe button. We are on our way to 100 subscribers by the end of January, and we can do that. You'll never walk alone.